was based in turn on Mr. Adams's complaint of interception of his dockets. We agree that.
Correct.
Okay. We know that upon receipt of that communication from the minister's office, with or without annexures, you then instructed Mr. Perumal to obtain a Section 27 affidavit from Mr. Adams. My question was, if the complaint was interception of the dockets, not the content of the dockets, you, by you I mean IDAC, must have instructed Mr. Adams to include in his Section 27 matters that do not constitute interception. And you indicated that you needed to talk to Mr. Perumal. I take it you've had a chance to and are able to shed light on how we end up with a Section 27 affidavit reading as it does, inconsistent with the complaint laid before IDAC by the minister's office.
Commissioners, I did call Mr. Perumal during the tea break, and I give feedback as follows. The referral and request for investigation in terms of Section 27 in the letter by the minister referred to Honorable Fadil Adams and referred to dockets. The ID asked Mr. Perumal to contact Mr. Adams to find out if he had a 27, which he did. He called Mr. Adams to indicate that IDAC cannot assist you in the absence of a Section 27 referral. Mr. Adams said, I have dockets opened already that make out allegations. Mr. Perumal advised him that we cannot just take those dockets in the absence of a Section 27. He told him to see a legal person and look at Section 27, and if he was of a mind to then refer a matter in terms of Section 27. Accordingly, there is a 27 dated the 21st of November, signed in the Western Cape, that was compiled by Mr. Adams without IDAC, which he sent and which has the detail it has.
The complaint, the only complainant as at the 11th of November was the Office of the Minister. And that complaint concerned interception of dockets. So the complaint itself does not concern itself with the contents of the dockets. It's only the act of interception. Do you agree with me? That is what was communicated to you by the Minister's office on the 11th of November in terms of Annexure MK16.
I beg to differ, if I could explain.
Yes, please.
The Minister is not just referring to the dockets. The Minister says, the allegations contained therein implicate very senior members of the South African Police Service and viewed in a serious light, and case dockets were registered as per the following cases, meaning whatever allegations that implicate senior members of SAPS are in these 4 dockets referred on 310. He goes further to say, due to the nature of the allegations made by Honorable Fadil Adams, which is deemed to be quite sensitive and which contains allegations of criminal misconduct, this office requests the investigating director to consider the same.
Okay, now let's look at the paragraph you just read, the allegations contained therein. What the reference to the therein, and I propose to you that therein is the correspondence addressed to the Minister. So the allegations contained in the correspondence from Mr. Adams to the Minister implicate very senior members of the South African Police. And the implication is that they intercepted the dockets.
I don't read it like that.
How do you read it?
I read that the allegations contained therein, in these dockets, in the dockets, implicate very senior members of the South African Police Service.
What in this communication gives you a sense that the minister or Mr. Nkabinde has seen the contents of the dockets?
I'm not saying they saw the contents of the dockets. They refer to Mr. Adams and they say the allegations contained by Mr. Adams implicate very senior members of the South African Police Service and are viewed in a serious light, and case dockets were registered as per the following.
But if your reading of this letter is correct, then the minister's office must have seen the dockets. Otherwise, they're not in a position to express a view that the allegations are viewed in a serious light and that they are quite sensitive, what is contained therein. If it is a reference to the dockets, the minister must have seen these dockets for your reading to be correct. It must be so.
For the way I read them, Commissioner Baloy, he refers to Adams. Adams would have made the allegations. I'm not sure in what form he made them to the minister.
No. What we know from this letter is the minister has been given correspondence by Adams. That's what that letter says. There's correspondence from Mr. Adams. You say the second paragraph and the third paragraph do not refer to that correspondence unless you're suggesting the minister must have had a telephone call with Mr. Adams, and that's why he's able to talk about these dockets, the content of these dockets. And I suspect that's not what you want to say. Because the next question would be, how do you know they had a conversation about the dockets and what's contained in the dockets? So let's read the letter sensibly. Paragraph 1 says, I attach a copy of the correspondence received from Mr. Adams. That's what it says. And then paragraph 2 says, the allegations contained therein implicate serious members of the South African Police. I want to say to you that a sensible reading of this first paragraph and the second paragraph is the contained therein refers or must refer to the attached correspondence. That is a sensible reading. Otherwise, why does he mention that letter to you?
That is correct.
Yes. So your reading of it to say, well, when he talks about implicating senior officers and containing sensitive matter, he's referring to what is contained in the dockets. It doesn't work. It's not a sensible way of reading this letter. But more importantly and seriously, it works only if you say that the minister must have had a conversation with Mr. Adams about these dockets to know that matter contained therein in those dockets is sensitive and it implicates senior police officers. And who are those senior police officers? You agree with me? You must agree with me.
I agree with the reading of a copy of a written correspondence which would have set out those serious allegations as contained.
Yes.
And therefore the reference to the dockets, because he refers to the dockets.
Yes.
But that the written correspondence would have set out these serious allegations.
Yes. That's the only way it works. Thank you.
And for that, you would have to go to page 283 of the same bundle. 283.
That is the correspondence we suggested was attached to the minister's
The serious allegations implicating senior officers are contained there because...
apologies, Commissioner. MK15, please go to MK15.
I am there.
And then to page 283.
I am there.
Thank you.
So that email of 1 November 2024 at 8:21, that is the correspondence addressed to the minister. And the docket numbers are there. And then allegation 2 is that I was told the dockets were intercepted. And then he says, I traveled to Johannesburg, Orlando, opened new dockets you see there. Then he implicates senior officers because he then says they interfered in the investigative process. and he was notified that Gauteng is following the same process. And the request to the minister is, I urgently and humbly ask the minister to intervene to ensure the integrity of the investigative process is maintained. So this is the request that gives rise to the referral to IDAC. And that was Adv.Sello's point, that the referral to IDAC was about these allegations implicating senior officers, not for IDAC to go take over the dockets that were opened in Orlando and the Western Cape and investigate those underlying allegations in those dockets.
Question is, who gave you these names? They're not in the affidavit. We can look at it for the next hour. You will not find the names in 4 up to 12. Somebody gave them to you. Who gave you these names? And under what circumstances?
This application came to me from the prosecutor.
So Ms. Ramsame will have to tell us where she got these names from.
That would be correct.
Okay.
Did you inquire from her where she got the names from when you know that you only gave her the Section 27 affidavit and you are quite familiar with it?
Yes.
Do you engage and say, who are these ones now? Where do they come in? How do they come in? They are not in the affidavit. You are not conducting an investigation yet, so you are not obtaining your own evidence. Where do these names come from? Did you have that engagement with her?
I didn't have that.
Why not? Shouldn't you have? Because from what you are suggesting, it's like she looked at those 3 names and said, no, 3 is not a good number, I prefer 12, and start like somarkhoying other names in there. And you signed, and you are happy with that. How come?
As I indicated, according to me, she only had the 27.
Yes.
And she would have then put together the 28.
Yes.
Yes.
Which we're looking at.
Yes.
And you know the 27 doesn't contain the names from 4 to 12.
That is correct.
So why do you sign it in the form that it is, where suddenly it includes a litany of other people who are not mentioned in 27 affidavit?
Where is that? Sorry. Council, you refer to only the first 4?
The first 3.
First 3.
The first 3.
Yes.
And sorry, Commissioner Baloy, that I'm now a bit slow. And I don't intend taking the whole afternoon to...
Well, I'm just trying to be helpful.
I'm trying to figure out how she would have arrived at the names, because their official capacities mentioned, but the names are not mentioned. I take the point.
You accept that it is not from the Section 27
Yes.
affidavit that
Yes.
she got the names.
Yes.
You accept that someone must have, if they come from her, someone must have given her these names.
Correct.
Yes.
And I will find out.
And you accept that at this point, when she approaches you with this application, the investigation hasn't started yet. You gave her the affidavit, she looked at it, and she came back to you and said, we need to have a preliminary investigation. So you accept at this point there's no investigation yet.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
My challenge is this, Advocate Johnson. You are authorizing an investigation into 8 people who are not mentioned in the singular document you have. They are not referred to you. There's no complaint regarding them. But you are authorizing an investigation into them. In terms of what section are you acting in so doing?
A conversation must have happened.
With whom? That's the question.
With Advocate Ramsamy.
No, she's not conversing by her soul self. Who is she conversing with?
What I'm saying is, she and I must have had a conversation.
Oh, so you are aware of them?
I'm saying she and I must have had a conversation, and I will follow that up, because I don't have an independent recollection of a conversation. And she would have to indicate then, if she had a conversation with somebody else. I wouldn't just have blindly signed it without finding out from her.
Did you perhaps suggest these names to her?
No, these are not people I know.
Can I say that the difficulty is that you don't seem to abide the terms of this section 27. Even if she proposes the names to you, you are the final decision maker. You are the in charge. You are the one that's authorizing an investigation. It's difficult to conceive of a situation where she comes back to you and she gives you a list of names and you don't say, no, we can't do that because it doesn't arise from this affidavit. We haven't started an investigation, so I know you didn't get those names from an investigation. I know you didn't do that. We have at this point only this affidavit, and you don't say, we are obliged to work with what we've got. We can't do whatever we feel like. It's difficult to understand that you would be party. If this is her giving, she gave you these names, that you are happy to sign off a truly invasive investigation because your powers to hear evidence means you can call these people, you can look into their affairs. That's what it means. And you do it outside the corners of the only document you have on which you could work with. You, the head, are not in a position, and you do not say to your prosecutor that we are not doing that. We are bound by law, we are bound by rules to investigate that which is properly given to us. It's a misuse of powers, whether it comes from her or from you. At this stage, this is a misuse of powers. To take intrusive steps and action against people on this affidavit, you have no justification whatsoever on this affidavit to be looking into Likalakala, Ngube Moyani Sibula, Madileng, Mukwele even, by name, Duvalo, whoever is automotive engineer. You have absolutely no legitimate and valid basis to look into them. Maybe there is something to look at later on, but we are still at this affidavit stage where you are authorizing that they be called in, that their affairs, their bank statements be looked into, and their lifestyles and everything and about them. And they must come to interviews under threat of, if you do not cooperate, it's a criminal offense. You're happy to do all of that, when in fact the document, the only document on which you rely to act as you do in this document doesn't create a basis for it. It's to me, it's yet another instance where you, in particular, have misused your powers to go where you are not authorized to go. There's no legitimate basis to do this. Do you want to comment?
I have no comment.
You said later in the year. Now that worries me because the arrests were mid-year. So if later in the year is after the arrests, that is a problem. So when you say later in the year, what do you mean? Do you mean after June or before June 2025?
It would have had to have been before June 2025 because he became the investigator earlier on, which was
in January.
In January,
yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's an answer that that kind of question where you answer, it would have been, you have had opportunity to ask and you were told you saw it later on. You either did ask and were informed when later on, or you must still go back and find out when exactly did he see it, because the way you're answering, you don't have personal knowledge of it, so you have to check with other people, and we shouldn't be left with the impression that yes, he saw it before the arrest because of how you've answered. I think it's a question that you must verify and come back to us with a specific period.
I will do that, Commissioner Baloyi, with the exact answer.
Finally, do you dispute his version when he says before this commission that he did not see the Section 27 affidavit? Do you dispute his version? Do you say he's not telling the truth?
I'm unable to dispute his version because he's in that team. That is why I'm saying I have to ask the questions after the fact.
Thank you.
It's not my place to say he lied. He would have to, he explained as he did, yes.
Thank you. And thank you, Advocate Johnson.
You're still going to be discussing the Section 27 notice. I do have a question, but if it's a topic, you are still...
Section 27 affidavit.
Affidavit.
Yes.
Okay.
We're still going to...
All right, I'll leave my question for now.
Thanks, Commissioner. You gave this long... It's quite a big team. You informed of, I think, Ayanda Mbalo, Charles Els. From yesterday, you keep referencing Chief Perumal. Chief is not his name, is it?
No, it is the rank. He is Dylan Perumal.
Dylan, thank you. Now, you now have, as I understand, a group of prosecutors. Well, the prosecutors there are two, and then a group of investigators. Who leads then this entire team? Who's the leader of this particular team?
It is the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions who leads the team. And then within the team, you will have, as you have a chief investigator who will lead the investigative part of the investigations, but the team is led by the Deputy Director of Public Prosecutions.
Okay, and in this case, that would be Mr. Manilal.
That is correct.
That is the leader of this team.
Yes.
Not Chief Perumal.
No.
Because I understood Colonel Padiache to refer to Chief Perumal as the leader of the team. Was he perhaps wrong in your understanding?
Not wrong. I think as an investigator, having the chief criminal investigator in the team, they look to him as the leader of the investigations. They almost invariably engage with him in terms of the taskings and the activities, reporting back and getting guidance. The everyday investigative functions would be dealt with by the chief criminal investigator or a senior investigator, as is the case in other teams as well.
So then what's the role of the leader of the team? What is Mr. Manilal's role as leader?
So Mr. Manilal's role is, because IDAC has a prosecution-led investigative methodology, they have to sit together to work out what the prosecution strategy is, what investigations must take place. They look at the resources that may be required, and so what his role is to coordinate and direct the evidence that will be, investigation that must be undertaken for the evidence to be collected and the relevant evidence that would be required. And then there's that constant to and fro as things come in, perhaps to look at the legal prescripts. Have they been met? Are there things that are outstanding? And that is the guidance, etc. within the team, both of the prosecutors and investigators.
So then in this team led by Mr. Manilal, who gets to decide whether the Section 27 referral is distributed to members of the team? Who makes that decision? Is it Mr. Manilal as the leader? Or who is it?
Ordinarily, it should be the team leader, which is Mr. Manilal, but it would depend on who had the document at the time. There's no rules about who gets what and who decides who gets what. I think it's a...
What's the purpose of being a leader?
I see.
Sorry. You spoke at the same time.
I apologize. My error was mine. I apologize, Chair.
Apologies.
Yeah, please finish what you were saying. And
what it is you have the team leader who will decide what all must happen. So obviously, invariably, it's the team leader who should distribute all the documents. I don't know that there's a decision who to give and who not to give. It works in terms of what is required at the time and who's the person who should have access to the document. You may find that it is a prosecutorial document and not necessarily something you